Years ago, I was homeless for quite a long time. And the only way I got by was by throwing this nasty old hat on the ground and yelling my poems on street corners and anywhere anybody would gather even slightly to listen. Mostly people who didn't want to listen. Quite a lot of people continue to do that thing. And I miss it sometimes. Because I miss moments like yelling in front of a coffee shop that I had no idea had a poetry reading already going on inside. And he came out, the host did, and said, "Hey, shut up, or come inside and sign up." So I did. And afterwards they had a poetry slam. I didn't compete. After I got off stage, they said, "Good job." They lied. But I continued to do it, and then learned the ways of poetry slam, which is a very fun bar game, and nothing more. And I won a few, and eventually I ended up going to the National Poetry Slam, and I took a poem into a workshop and was proud of the poem, so I turned it in, expecting the person leading the workshop to go, "Wow," or something along those lines. What he did was he circled one line and scribbled the rest out in Sharpie, slid it back across the table to me. He said, "Real poets edit." And I was mad. So I went back to the hotel room and I tried again. I said, I'm going to write it exactly the same way. I'm going to write it, he don't know what he's talking about. I'm going to write it exactly. Oh, I should have said, "Oh, he got me." And I did that 5 times. And finally, at the last time, he said, "It's not bad." Inside, I was doing cartwheels, right? So that was one of the first times I decided that my first thought wasn't exactly my best thought. That if I stubbed my toe and had the ability to walk backwards and go through the doorway and walk through it again without stubbing my toe, I would do that. And on the page, I could. So living in Portland, Maine, for a long time, I eventually got a home and wasn't homeless and didn't need to scream on street corners anymore. And then, lucky enough for my life and my dreams of being a teacher, I was allowed to teach. It was a wonderful school for people like me. It was the last chance school, right? It's the school just before juvie, school just before jail. 2 wings of this school were dedicated to cases that were of a sexual nature. There were aggressors on one wing and survivors on another. Never the two did meet. The hallways were locked down. There was no interaction between these students. The only place that they even were in the same room was the library, which is where my class was, and they had a partition down the middle of the room separating them and a security guard in the room. And I taught the first class, and they were nice, and the teacher said, the librarian, said, "Oh, that was okay." I said, "Can we get rid of that?" And she said, I don't think so. I said, "I would do a much better job if this was gone and we could just interact with each other and talk." Myself, I was a survivor of molestation when I was 10. I had an idea. My whole life, I had fought the idea of going back and trying again and editing my life like I edited my poems. Just keep going. It'll work out. So I had an idea that if we tore down that wall, maybe we could tear down a few others. And eventually, after a few weeks, there was a lot of walls that fell. One of them included a student who was very homophobic at the very beginning of the class, realizing that he was bisexual, and that's where the anger was coming from. And he made friends with the only gay kid that was in the class. They were on the same side of the wall originally. And they became very good friends. And one class, they were laughing and joking when we started reading our poems back. And the poem from one young woman was to her father, and it was about being molested and raped by her father and the miscarriages she had as a result. Now, these two boys did not know what the poem was going to be about, obviously. So at the beginning, when she started, "Dear Dad, fuck you for raping me," their conversation had come to a point of hilarity, and they laughed. And I watched throughout the entire reading of the poem their panic. And as soon as she finished, their hand went up. Panic and tears in his eyes. He said, "Go ahead." I knew what he was going to say. And he said, I didn't mean to laugh. I wasn't laughing at her. Please, I wasn't laughing at you. That was beautiful. Can I hug you? And she said yes. And the security guard said no. And I said yes. And it became a big group hug. And without a single issue, without a single bad look, bad touch, anything, it was beautiful. And there was so much healing in that moment. And it was wonderful. And they're all friends, still to this day. I know that because I'm still friends with a lot of them, still to this day. But that girl used to ask me all the time, how do you be a writer? And I used to say pretentious things like, it's like oxygen, you know. you do it or you die, you know. Which, I mean, that was true for me. That exactly was true for me. And I'm proud to say it was true for a few of the kids in that class. Eventually, I had to give her a proper response, and like a true poet, I wrote her this poem. To the student who asked me how to be a writer. It's a short poem. Edit. All right. Forget everything ever written. Better still, read everything ever written and edit out the mistakes. Fix them with every pen stroke of your imagination. Show us what we've done wrong. Pretend the devil is a poem that revives itself without a sound, an antic of the mind, a flickering fairy made of the same self-trash you force yourself to breathe, then rattle off long, wind-blown rants about downtown drivers, plaza hangers-on, and Fago rupee. I don't know, make something up. When the truth is blue, be blue. Write all over yourself with yellow ink. See what color reality shines through with. Fight crows, be falcon. Fight falcon, be eagle. Be open to fail. You're going to fail. And you will succeed. Neither will matter if you don't love your imperfection. Imagine the mouth of the first boy, girl, or non-gender specific person who has ever called you cute. If no one's ever called you that before, look at my lips. You are cute. Be the swarm of bees in the 37 Ford just outside of Memphis. Be cracked engine block. Be broken odometer. Be 40 years of rust around you. Now dust it all off and open a throttle to 90 on a back road outside of Bald Knob, Arkansas in December of 1938. Remember every road pebble click against your tires. Explode. Keep writing. Be as beautiful and as quick as death. Own your evils in a world short on flowers. Tell us slow. The mother-in-law drowning in her grocery cart. The son smoking pot in the parking lot, exhaling white-hot excuses. Lie about liking instant ramen noodles. You're gonna have to. Be the broken. Be the glue. Snap the blank pages tooth. Liberate all the abandoned engagement rings from all the pawn shops. Make mad, ranting mental notes about the couple arguing in the middle of the $1 million bridge. Write your name gently on the first green leaf in spring, then be angry and amazed every autumn when it's not stuck to the windshield of your first car. Stab hearts with notebooks and microphones. Sharpen them. Blunt objects only bruise. They don't break. Imagine God in your strong hand. She rests until lightning crashes simile in your palm, poetic device in your spleen until eyes open like pickle jars and lips part singing sober heart murmur. Televise your revolution. Better still, tweet your revolution. That's the only way it will be seen, but in 5 years that advice will be obsolete. I'm sorry. Edit it. Edit our mistakes with your smiles, your strengths, your weaknesses, your poems, your selves. Edit the world. Edit, 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 edit.